Hey, what's up everyone? Boozer here. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Hope you guys had a great week, and hope you guys are ready for a action-packed weekend that Plarium has lined up for us. Starting with the Elhain fusion that's going on right now. It looks quite challenging, and I will have to review the schedule, and I'll provide some tips and tricks, or what I will do on my own fusion quest in a separate video. We also have a couple shard summoning events. Basically, we have 2x shard events for each shard on every day, every separate day. So only 24-hour events, but one per day. It's kind of nice for added flexibility for the champ chase, but it also feels kind of like very heavy bait. It does feel like Plarium is setting us up for some big events that are maybe too juicy to pass up in the future. So unless you're really keen on pulling shards, or you have to go for the fusion, I would maybe hold off. But 2x is usually a pretty good opportunity to load up on some extra champions. However, the champ chase will block some of your resource acquisition, because we have 2 points here where you would have gotten resources that you would no longer get now. This is really bad from Plarium as well. Previously, the top fragment should have been 2,500. Now it's bumped up to 32. The first book used to be 3,000. Now it's 4,300. So just it's a bit nasty. So it's not a bad chance to maybe hold your shards. But anyways, that's not the purpose of this video. So in this video, I want to say that I was inspired yesterday with the recap video, and I'm just very interested in data in general, and I was collecting data from my clanmates on their recap videos, and then I decided to expand that search to basically most content creators, or people in the community from YouTube. So I watched a ton of recap videos, a ton, and I basically compiled the data from the more prominent members in the community, and maybe some outlier data points that are very interesting to talk. Yeah. So, anyways, if you guys are new to the channel, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. If you guys enjoy the content, I would implore you to subscribe. I am on my quest for 1,000 subscribers, which would allow me to take the next step in applying for content creator status with Plarium. But it's just my shameless plug at the beginning of the video. Usually I don't bother with that, but yeah. Anyways, let's get right into the data points. I will spare you guys my video because I feel like people have been watching too much of that. Okay, sorry about that. I just pulled it up here. So here are the data points. I'm going to move my head over here. Perfect. Perfect spot for my head. So you guys can soak it all in, but this is basically all the data points from the recap videos, from all these different community members and general people that we might recognize around in the raid community. I did black out some of my clanmates just because they might not necessarily want their data or name exposed on YouTube for whatever reason. So I did choose to black them out. So we can go over some of these. So my 2 accounts are right here. So my Boozor2 and Boozilla1, both my accounts are there. They are organized by time spent in the game. So they're organized from most time spent in the game to least time spent in the game. The highlighted greens are values above the average value. Yeah, so we have rares, epics, legends, total champs. So the key points here, we have lots of things to unpack. So for example, Hell Hades, we can tell, has been in the game the longest of all the people that I was able to find recap videos on at the time of recording. So he's been in the game for almost 4 years. You can tell how much he's bowled and how he compares to his peers. So and then his dungeon crawling, and then his gear acquisition. So it's interesting because you can really tell who has spent their time in what area, basically. So you can tell that, for example, someone that has a very high champion acquisition, that means they pull a lot of shards, right? That means they pull a lot of shards. So, for example, Ash, who is leading in two categories here, epics pulled, legends pulled, he kind of lives up to his self-proclaimed biggest whale uh, moniker, right? So he's definitely one of the bigger whales in the game in terms of just pulls. But you can tell that he doesn't have the most pulls of all the data points. Smiley actually has the most pulls with you know just a little bit. However, you can tell he has more rares, and Ash has way more epics and way more legends. So to me, that feels like Smiley pulls more lower quality shards, and Ash pulls more higher quality shards. Makes sense. So it's kind of interesting when you look at all this data, and you can kind of deduce a lot of things. For example, you can see Ash doesn't do Minotaur. He spends all his gems. He doesn't. He uses gems. He's again self-proclaimed dirty whale. He's a dirty whale. He doesn't spend any time in Minotaur. He can't be bothered, right? So, uh, and you can also tell like his time is not spent in dungeons either, because he doesn't have a lot of. He's not even in the average. He's not even ahead of average for just gear grinding, accessory grinding, and so forth. Um, so yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see how they kind of compare to peers, and obviously like time spent will affect the total amounts. So I realized that. So I made columns for gear per month and champions acquired per month. I understand that some of these data points won't be bulletproof, and there's going to be holes in some of them, but they give us a general idea of how much gear they acquire per month, time spent in the game. Total gear divided by time spent in game, and also champions divided by time spent in game. So how many champions they acquire. So for example, it's like, yes, all the content creators that have been in the game a long time also have acquired a lot of champions per month in that time. So it's not that they just have acquired a ton of champions over time and it's more than other people. It's actually they acquire more per month. So but you can also tell I have a spending column here, and this is basically my own kind of assumption. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and I don't want to put any specific numbers or anything like that. So I just put my own assumption based on roughly what I feel. I do have a general sense of how much they have spent just based on their own videos. So, it's not total guesswork. But yeah, so that's how. So you can obviously see a direct correlation between money spent and total champions acquired, for example. It's or energy spent in acquiring gear. Obviously, money is a big factor in this game. So all these players are end game players. They all farm Ultra Nightmare. So that was kind of one of the requirements that I feel is important. I tried to get data points that were at least 2 years in the game, so at least there's veteran players. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see how where people put their time and energy. For example, Winston is actually a moderator for Hell Hades on his website. I think he's the guy behind some of the some of the technical stuff for the optimizer, and I know he's very prominent in the help channels for him. But you can see this guy is an insane grinder. Like his stats stand out in like compared to even his peers that also have insane stats. So you can tell all his time is spent grinding the dungeons. Yes, he's pulled a lot of shards, but he does not even come close to the other content creators, other members. So you can tell his time is spent grinding gear, and you can tell that basically by gear per month. His gear per month is just an insane amount of gear. I mean, he acquires champions, but he also acquires an insane amount of gear. So it's kind of interesting to see. For example, like you see Mad Capper here, like all his time is spent in Spider. It's kind of interesting. Um, he hasn't pulled too many shards, which is interesting, but he has a ton of energy spent in dungeons. So it's interesting to see, right? It's just looking across some of these, I'm going to highlight some things like, Hell Hades. What do you got here? Hell Hades. You got Minnow. Okay, so he's done a little bit of Minnow, but not too much. And you see, he hasn't been farming that much either. So his average spider total is actually less than the average of everyone here, which actually is interesting because he's been in the game for so long. So this is just a total spider amount. Um, so it's actually kind of interesting. So he doesn't spend a lot of time in Spider. He spends a lot of time in Fire Knight. Is one of the highest, definitely. And you see Ash didn't spend any time in Dragon. So I made another column, basically saying this is an interesting column. I thought percentage of Lego accessories and then percentage of Lego gear. So this is kind of like my column that takes the total legendaries pieces that they got divided by how much they farmed. So this can tell us a couple things. It tells us the level that of dungeons that they spent farming, and kind of like a rough gauge of their general luck, I guess. However, after looking at the data points, I realized that the people, this is interesting because you notice that the people that have been in the game the longest have the lowest percentage Lego gear. This, I believe, is due to them basically pioneering the game. They pioneered the game when the game was difficult and when there was lower chances to drop the higher rarity gear. So I feel like that basically skewed this data a lot. So they basically paved the way for the newer players to have more efficient builds, to have more strategies, more efficient strategies, to be more efficient and have higher chances at Lego gear. That makes sense, and that's why we see more green, more higher than average numbers in the earlier members, the earlier players, for example. So that kind of makes sense. That's totally explains it all to me. Um, so what interesting things, what other interesting things can we derive from this? So we have a clanmate here. He's a pretty big spender, and we can tell he's super efficient. So he's basically just going for sheer efficiency, and he is super efficient. He looks for the best builds all the time, and he has a ton of energy. He spends a ton of money, and yeah, so we can tell that his efficiency, his Lego acquisition rate is very high. Whereas like somebody that is, for example, like, or maybe if they're like free to play, maybe if they're free to play, um, or if they're a low spender and they can't be bothered with being super efficient, or they don't, they're not tuned in all the time, maybe their Lego acquisition rate will be lower. So that's kind of like a general idea of that. So I'm just trying to look around, see what else is super interesting here. So we have this Jarek. I just recently caught wind of this guy. He's a recent content creator, but this guy is an omega whale, man. Like, look at the amount of champions this guy has acquired relative to some of these super old time content creators. And look at the acquisition per month, champion per month. Absolutely insane omega whale. But and you can tell all his time is spent pulling shards. He doesn't spend any time grinding dungeons. It's actually really interesting to see where people put their time. Yeah. The biggest glaring stat is this one for sure for Ash. It's just when I saw this, I freaking laughed so hard. I was like, yeah, this is so funny. This guy never spends a second in a Minotaur, for example. Anyway, so I just thought it was kind of interesting. Obviously, you guys can input your own statistics here, and then you guys can kind of compare against your peers. This is kind of like just 20 people that I found with interesting stats that give me a decent like snapshot of how people are doing and what they do. Both my accounts are right here, so you guys can have a look. You can see like I'm pretty efficient player in terms of like I'm pretty efficient and I grind quite a bit of gear based on the averages here. I spend a lot of time in Minnow. Obviously, I'm free to play. I don't. I obviously spend. Be as efficient as possible, which is grinding Minotaur. I did spend a lot of time in Dragon, obviously to farm speed gear, all those speed events. And yeah, I mean, you can see like the difference between my two accounts also is quite large. So you see the Legos acquired 83 versus 98 for the younger account. So the Legos acquired were much higher for my younger account, and they were much higher quality. And you can see like I pulled way less total champions. So the luck on my original account was way worse. And it's kind of interesting to see like nub raids because me and nub raids basically start at the same time, which is kind of cool. We have very similar pulls, very similar total pulls, but you can tell that my focus was a lot on dungeon grinding along the way. So my gear acquisition was quite high relative to his. So 725, 817, and he's only recently been a spender. He used to be a free to play player as well. So it's kind of interesting to see. I know this member is also a very efficient free-to-play player. He's much more hoarder than I am, though. So yeah, so anyways, it's just interesting to see, and some of the data points are just cool to compare against each other, and of course, you guys are free to use your figures to compare against this data set. So I hope this was interesting. I thought it was super interesting when I was compiling it together. Like I said, this is all the recap videos I could find at the time of my producing of my own video. I apologize if I offended anyone. That was not my intention. We're just having a honest discussion of the data that is presented to us. So with that said, if you guys like the content, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. If you guys have any comments, anything interesting you guys see, let me know. This is super interesting, and I feel like there's a lot of things that maybe I'm missing on what we could talk about. But yeah, let me know. Until then, best of luck with your fusion, and best of luck with your shards. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. So take care.